Okay, let's dig a little bit more into resource constrained on our project. So here's a project. Okay, so we're resource constrained. Here's task 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can see how their dependencies are. You can see what is the critical path, the things with 0 slack, so 0, 0, 0, 0, so critical path 1, 3, 6, 7. Okay, in the middle we put 2 people, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, and 1. Okay, so we lay that out, and we are going to try to figure out how to eliminate the resource constraint, because I'm only going to give you 3 heads. So you can see here 2, 4, 5. Can't give you 5 heads, going to give you 3 heads on this. So let's look at this. Resources are limited in quantity or availability. So we're going to use the heuristics. Okay, rules of thumb. Minimum slack first, then smallest duration, then lowest activity number. So you'll see how those get used here as we're going. So let's look at this. So now we laid it out. Task 1, 2 heads, 2 days. Task 2, task 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You can see the critical one, 0 slack, 0, 0, 0. This one has 2 days of slack. This one has, 6, 2, and so forth. So I got to limit you to 3 people. I don't have 5 to give you. What's it going to do to the project? Here it's 12 days. Can you still get it done in 12? So let's look at it. So the first thing we're going to do is we have to say which task do we go move. So we're going to go and say back here, I can't move task 1 and I can't move task 3. Okay, so I have 5 heads. I could do tasks here. I could do these 2. I could do, I'm only giving you 3 heads, I'm sorry. I have 5, I'm giving you 3. So I could add these here and get those done, but then I'm going to have to push this out. So I can push it out here. Here I could push it as a minimum to here. I have to push it. So let's go look. Can't, so I'm pushing it here. I'm cutting my slack down. Okay, but I've now got myself to 3 heads. Pushed it out even more, and I have to now get negative slack because I had to keep pushing it because it was 2 and 2. That got me to 4. I couldn't do it. So I had to push it out, but now I'm down to 3 heads and 2. Now I can add that task. So now I add that task in here, but that's 2. I can have 3, so I had to go look at which one of these do I move. Well, task 6 was critical, so I couldn't move 6. So now I have to go and move task 5. Okay, but because of the 3-head limit, I couldn't start that until 6 was done. So I start that out here, 3-head limit. I couldn't start task 7 until out here. So I now took a 12-day project. Because I limited you to 3 heads, it's now a 14-day project by moving that out. So you can see, again, with small projects, how we can manually move this ourselves and move that through. So now what did we do? If we look at this here, what's critical? This is still critical. This is still critical. We know that out here. So now what else did we do, though? Because before we only had 1, 3, 6, and 7 critical, I now increased that and made task 2 critical and 5 critical. So I went from just 4 of these critical to, 5, 6 of these critical. So that's going to happen when there's resource constraints. So boss, I changed this from 12 days to 14, and I now have more critical paths on this to work. It's going to happen, but many times you're resource constrained. Let's look at a different project called the EMR project, Electronic Medical Reference Guide. There are only 8 design engineers who can be assigned to this due to a shortage and commitments on other projects. Again, very typical. What are we going to do with this EMR project? So let's look at it first by itself. We had this EMR project. We lay it out. So here's the project in total, 45 days. Okay. Again, you can see the resources here, 5 heads, 4, 5. You can read them in here and that. But I said we're limited to 8 heads. So this is with over allocations. And now we're going to go see what happens. So let's look at it. This was what the book gave us. Let's jump and look at this in project. So project, here's the original. So here's the original. I programmed it into project, EMR project, 45 days. Okay, I assigned the heads here, and I assigned the heads over here, and over here you can see they're over allocated. Remember, I had to go to the resource sheet to do that. So let's go to the resource. I got to go to task over here, task, and then resource sheet. 8 heads max, so 800%. I threw in $100 per hour here just so we could see what the rates are. But that's what's over allocated, are those 8 heads. If I wanted to look at the graph, I could look at the graph here. Let's shrink it a little. So you can see here there are times in the project when we're over allocated over the 8 heads. So what are we going to do about that? So let's look at that, and we're saying, okay, what can we do on this project? Can I shift it within the available slack? And let's do that. Let's add this column up here. So let's add total slack. So we can see our slack. So what's critical? 0 days, 0 days, 0. Those are the critical. But I do have slack on a lot of other tasks here. Can I move things around and still keep this to 45 days? So let's try that. Remember, we go to resource, level in options. I want to level with an available slack, and let's see what happens. Level all. It says it can't do it. But look at all the reds over here. I don't even know how many that is. Quite a few reds, right? Skip all and see what it did. Well, look what it did. It could get rid of a few for me, but that's it. It could not keep this a 45-day project and keep us down to 8 heads. It still had all these over allocations in there. So let's clear the leveling. Go back to our leveling options. We don't want to level within slack. Say OK. Level all. Remember, 45 days. Let's see what happens. Okay, now it can do it, and it can get it to 57 days and get rid of all the over allocations. All right, let me make this fit over here. So here we can see we fit that here, and we can now make it into that. Okay, so it changed it around, and it got us to 57 days. So here was it with the over allocations. Okay, that's what the critical path was then. So you can see these tasks were critical path, but we were over allocated. Over allocated across the board in these places here. Quite a few of the cases over allocated. And now after the resources are leveled, 57 days, and this is our new network. So you can see the different critical path. We'll go back to project in a second, and let's look at that network. And here's our new schedule from the book, but here's what I came up with in project. And here's what they are, kind of trying to do them side by side, or top to bottom, I guess, better terminology. So here was the original one, 45 days. Here's the expanded 157. You can see how the critical path changed a little bit, and you can see how it moved some of these tasks around to make this all fit. And so that's what we get when we do that. So let's go back to project, look at that. Here it is leveled. And we can go and look at the usage graph. I got to go back to task again. Usage, resource usage, there. That's not the one I wanted. Sorry, I want the resource graph. I can look at the resource graph, and you can see we are 8 heads across the board. I can also go look at the network diagram. Again, remember, these are good and bad. They're hard to read to me on project, but I can kind of get a quick view of it and see what's critical. So these are my critical. Again, I remember I look and see that everything's linked up nice, but I can see what my path is on that. So that's kind of what we had here on resource allocation limits, and how we can use Microsoft Project to help that. So what's the impact of resource constrained? I think you've seen all that. Reduces delays, but reduces flexibility. So what do I mean by reduces delays? I mean, we've scheduled this out, and with our resource limit, the best way we can. So it reduces how much we're extending the project the best we can. We know we're going to, generally speaking, we're going to have some delay, but does the best job it can at reducing that delay. But I lost flexibility in the sense that many times I've added more critical paths, increased critical events. So that makes your scheduling more complex, because now you have to make sure that all those critical paths are handled. Can break sequences, may cause parallel activities to become critical, kind of all the things I mentioned. So that's resource constrained. Now that we have that and we put the dollars in and everything, you'll see we can actually come up with a budget for the project.